Wonder Soul. Wonder Soul.
Wonder Soul.
So we are going to be talking about the New York Times bestseller, A Deadly Education, a novel by Naomi Novik.
Mm-hmm.
Did I pronounce that right?
Pretty close, yeah.
All right, cool. So Bailey, you picked this book.
I did.
Would you like to tell me and whoever's listening to this why you picked this book? And I'm going to hand it to you, so there you go.
So I picked this book because essentially it is the emo Harry Potter.
The emo Harry Potter. Okay.
Yeah, it's if emo Harry Potter and horror came together, it would be this book.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I also like how much I dislike the main character for the entirety.
You're
of this
going
book.
right into it, dude. Hold on.
No, but that's why I pick it, because I've never read a book that I disliked the main character the entire time and still liked the book.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I got some things to say. But so you told me to check this out, and that it's a trilogy, like you said, right?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be 4 books total.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a trilogy then.
I see. I don't know, because
Yeah.
to me, the third book could have.
You've already read them all, though.
Yeah.
Right? So did it feel like they wrapped it up in the third one? Without
I
really
mean, I thought they
giving
wrapped it up in the second one, but
Really?
here we
Here we
are.
are. So, okay, this came out, I think, in 2020, right? So this isn't too old.
No, and it was a pandemic ask from a friend that I read it.
Wow. And, I mean, it's not that long. I think it's like 300 and something, a little over 300 pages. And then in the back, they have little cool drawings and maps.
The illustrations are cool. I did not get to see that until you showed me.
Yeah, dude.
So I read the whole series without seeing any of that.
I like a good reference in a book. I like to look up fan art or something.
It's definitely what I pictured, though.
Really?
Like, to a T. It's what I saw reading.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into a lot of that. I know we both this is your second time going through this story?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my second reading.
Second reading. This is my first time. I just finished a couple days ago from this recording. And, we're going to go over it. We wrote down some notes. Mm-hmm. We're trying to be a little professional with it, but we're also probably just going to go on some tangents, go here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, so... Yeah. We apologize. We are early in this. We recorded another one. This is our second time really recording. Mm-hmm. So it should be fun. It should be. It'll
be fun.
It'll be fun and interesting. And I'm happy we got to get to it pretty soon because we just.
It wasn't long, so we got through it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, it's 10 hours in the audio book.
I think so. It didn't take you more than a week and a half.
I was binging.
You made through it very quickly.
Is there another word for binging when it comes to audio stuff, like an audiobook, or if you're binging a D&D podcast? Are you still binging?
I think so, because it's just mass consumption of something.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a Netflix show or
or
an
food
anime
or anything like that. No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got through it pretty quick.
You did.
And we can get it. So we both have a list of pros and cons. Yes. Probably some things we want to talk about.
Yes. Well, those are in my pros and cons.
Okay. Now you said that this was and I'm interested to see after we talk, but your favorite, one of your favorite book series. We'll say that one. You really like these books though. For the most part.
Yeah. There's some key elements in this that I think are extremely interesting and pretty unique. If not, they bring in other examples.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to. I don't want to say too much early.
Let's go ahead and say right now, this is spoilers. We're gonna dive into really this is just us talking about the book.
So why I like these books.
Okay.
Why I will say the first book I read super fast, like in a day.
Wow.
Yeah, like went through it. Had notes, thought about them. It was a gift. A friend of mine wanted me to read it, so I read it like quickly so I could discuss it with them.
Okay.
My favorite thing about this is the magic system has cost. One of my biggest critiques, maybe would be the right way to put that, with the Harry Potter series is that you just freely get magic. Like you just can do if you're one of the people that is lucky enough to be able to do magic, you just can. It's like freely casting. It makes me think of like the starter weapon you get in a gun, like that has unlimited ammo.
Yeah.
Right, like you can just do it as many times as you want. Whereas in this, there's like a cost. It's more like alchemy. Like it makes me think of Full Metal Alchemist. Like the way everything has an energy exchange.
Yeah.
So in this, like, there's like Malia and mana and like things like that, and they exchange and they use them for things, and that's one of the cooler elements. Mm-hmm. It also, my big critique with the Harry Potter series is they don't talk about like the dark sides of magic, and this is almost exclusively the dark sides of magic.
Yeah.
Like these books are almost with her mom. You see like little moments of like, you know, cleric healer magic and like how you can be like one with the earth and do good for people. But then like the majority of the story is like, all right, I'm going to fuck these people over. I'm going to kill this kid so that I can pass this test. And I'm going to let this monster eat that freshman. And like, yeah.
So I don't know, like, I think we can talk about this book, obviously because we read it and we know what we're talking about as far as that. But like, if somebody was listening to us right now and they had no idea what this book was, never read it, never heard of it, like, how would you explain real quickly what this book is about? So that at least give people that haven't read it some context.
It's the story of a magic school.
Okay, like Harry Potter.
Yes.
Pretty much.
So this, I thought, was a YA novel.
Yeah.
Harry Potter is considered a children's novel.
What?
Yes, Harry Potter is classified
That's
as
not
a
YA?
children's book. No. The later two might be, like Deathly Hallows.
Got you.
May be considered YA because of their age and like because of the amount of death that happens in it.
That's interesting.
But the early ones are classified as children's books. So this I thought was a YA, but apparently it is an adult novel, which I disagree with the classification because of the length and because of like the way it's written. But that's not here there.
Is it just the cussing? Like they cuss a couple times.
They do, and I think it's because like there's elements of like teen pregnancy and like being a bastard and like the thought of like killing a child at one point is a thing.
Lots of violence, but
there's lots of like gore.
Is there though? I mean, there's action and violence, but they don't really get. She doesn't get this. The author doesn't get super icky with the descriptions, though.
No, well, not in this one at least. Well, kind of when they're talking about like patience and fortitude. Is that the other one?
I don't know.
The big.
I'm not sure.
Oh, now it's not going to come.
It's okay.
Me. Yeah. Anyway, so this is the story of a wizarding school, essentially.
Yes.
But people that can do magic go to the school. And in it has the main character who is Galadriel, like Lord of the Rings, but they all call her Elle. That's what she prefers to be called. Galadriel is kind of a bitch, and everyone hates her. And it's not clear when you're reading it at first if everyone hates her because everyone hates her, or if everyone hates her because of some other reason. Like, it's very unclear what the reasoning behind disliking her is. But it's the story of her trying to survive in this school. Because unlike Harry Potter, there is no safety net at all in the building. There are no teachers. There is no, like, headmaster. There is no one to check up on you. And there's no way to communicate with home. So it's Harry Potter cut off from the world and thrown to the wolves. That's what this is.
Yeah, I don't think they have any outside communication, do they?
You have to sneak it in on a first year. Like, your parents
So
have
you
to
stay
sneak.
in this school until there's no summer breaks.
No. You live
Holidays.
there. You live there.
So bizarre.
For the time you're, I think it's like 16, no, it's
Yeah.
like 15 to
14
18.
to like 14, 18?
Yeah, it's 4 years. It's like the
like
standard
more-
high school years.
Yeah.
Or American high school years.
Which would be like 9th to 12th grade.
Correct. So the only time you get communication is if you sneak it in
Okay.
on a first year. And then you get to pick an object to bring with you. Instead of like getting this laundry list of objects and potion ingredients and you get a pet and all these comfort things, you get to bring like one thing or you get to bring like a few things. I can't remember explicitly which way it was. But it's not, you don't get to bring like a trunk full of things with you. So I think the only thing she brings is and she gets the note from her mom and it has the bandages in it.
Mm-hmm.
And she brings a few things that have like healing in them.
Yeah, the mana crystals
Yeah.
that she like fills
She
up.
brings all the mana crystals with her and
Yeah.
whatnot. And there's the one girl that brings in all the mice who end up being important.
Yeah, see, you're pretty limited, and there's pictures in the back of this book that show like the dorm rooms, and they're pretty.
Oh, they're like a cubicle, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like 4 brick walls, but they're a cubicle.
Yeah, they're almost like a prison cell.
Yeah, and remember, like, there's a portion where you see someone who has a decadent dorm. She has
Yeah.
all like the pillows and the puffs and this.
Yeah,
But there's monsters in this.
really.
That's like a whole scene in the book where they're like,
Oh, and they're in that room.
yeah, that's her dorm. That
So-
they're crawled up in those little puffs.
So we should explain that too. Like in the school's trying to kill the students, and
Yeah, you have to
essentially,
survive.
right, you have to survive these monsters, different kinds of monsters, and not only do they just like pop up in certain areas, they really can just get you anywhere, like the bathroom while you're
Oh, that's
asleep.
a whole. Yeah, you can't.
There's
you
no hiding.
can't hide anywhere from them. So they try to stuff things in crevices and come up with magical ways to protect themselves and stay in like cliques and packs and
Yeah.
groups. So there's always
Yeah.
someone guarding someone.
That's actually kind of, if you're a fan of like survival stuff or survival video games, even.
See, I
think,
love survival horror, and
Yeah.
that's why I think I liked this.
Oh, that's a good.
It's
good
because
way to
like
look
the
at it.
Forest is one of my favorite games,
Yeah.
and it's survival horror, and
Forest
this is survival horror.
Man, I actually saw someone recently streaming The Forest. And it was like multiplayer. It had a bunch of them. They were like in the little caves. It was really cool. I was like, dang, dude, I really want to play that game again. We should play
need
that.
to.
I don't think we ever played that together.
No, but we will
We will.
because
Anyway,
it's one of my favorites.
but yeah, so survival is
Yes.
like key in this whole story.
That's the whole point. You have to live long enough to leave the school to become a proper.
So
wizard.
that's pretty much what this book's about. Like
It's
really,
her surviving.
yeah. This one girl wizard
That nobody likes.
that
Trying
no
to
one
survive.
likes. That's also this isn't her first year. We actually
Oh yeah, we don't come into this on like her entering the school. We
Yeah.
come into this. She's a junior.
yeah.
And she's watching the senior class go through leaving the school
Right.
and prepare for their trials to like exit the school.
So so now that we've talked about what this book is about, I think it's fair to take turns going over our notes.
Okay.
If you say something that I have wrote down, we'll just go ahead and talk about it right there.
Works
and we
for
can
me.
talk about that, and so we don't have to repeat ourselves. And since like you picked the book, no pressure. But
Okay.
would you like to go first?
So the first thing,
Now, are these the things you like or dislike, or just like things that you just want to talk about, critique? Or...
so I'm gonna talk about probably a mix of both dislike and like, and
Okay.
the big pro I like is that everything has a cost. Nothing is for free in this book. Okay? And I like that it is that way in different tiers because it's like prison style on how you get materials.
Very much.
Like you have to barter, you have to make it worth their time, their energy. If that means you're guarding someone while they take a shower so that you can get a scrap of this material to make that material, like that's what you got to do. Everything is very limited. Even the food. Because they have to wait in the cafeteria line and you have to like be first through to get food that's not like slightly rotten or bruised or like get extra helpings of stuff. So in a lot of ways it is like prison style setting for these children.
Which is not fun, right?
No, not at all. It's so unusual and so atypical for the way we view these kind of things. Like Harry Potter, you know, you have the headmaster, then you have the deputy headmistress, which is like Minerva. Then you have the like head of houses, then the prefects, then the like head boy and head girl, and then the students. There's all this protection. Which is why it's like the story of Harry getting into mischief aside from the protection. But there's these layers of protection that in this book, there is no safety net. Like, there's nothing. You could just die at any point. Like, it's very harsh and it's very survival of the fittest. And you see, like, the ugly parts of those ages. Because, you know, you're emotionally developing at those ages. Those are the peak ages where you like figure out who you are. And in that you also have to figure out who you are in this pressure cooker of power and chaos.
Yeah.
And it makes for a very interesting world. That being said, I don't think it's very well written.
Well, it's pretty important for a book when you say...
Well, correct. Like, the world and the premises and the things that you learn over the course of, like, the 3 books that are out. It's very cool.
Okay.
I don't know if this is because it's her first in the series or if it's because... I don't know. It's very info dumpy. In the wrong way. It's almost like Tolkien's very, very long-winded, like, let me describe this mountain for 5 pages straight. But instead of, like, it being descriptive flexing, this is, like, word vomit of information and lore. Which I think could have been better written in.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's great lore. I think it's really cool stuff. I think it opens for a very interesting view of a magical community, and it has a lot of weight politically when they get older. And you find about that in later books. But in this specific book, I do not think it is written well.
Well, let me just, because you brought up some things that I wrote down.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And so I tried to at least write down... Right after I finished this book, it was like, all right, at least have 10 good things and 10, you know...
Oh, I did 10 total. 5 good, 5 bad.
Man. But some of these are very I'm just reaching for some basic stuff. So the idea is sort of cool. Like, basically the premise of, like, you know, these wizards surviving at a school that's trying to kill them. To me, that idea is pretty cool. It's like Harry Potter meets Hunger Games.
Yes. Oh, that's probably...
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, I can see how that would be kind of cool. I agree with you. I like how the magic's done. You brought up Full Metal. Like, I really love that. That you can't create something out without destroying something.
Correct.
You know, like, what is it? See, I feel like it's like a like, because matter cannot be created nor destroyed, right?
Right.
It's like they have to kind of...
So in this, it's definitely a direct transference of mana.
Okay, yeah, see? Yeah.
You have to take mana from something.
Which...
It doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
Now, usually, And it does actually happen because remember they like work out and do things like that to build mana.
It kind of
so you can like physically exert yourself.
But you still have to give energy.
Right. No, I mean you're still giving a ton of physical
Yeah.
energy to be able to do that. But like the girl with the mice.
Yeah. It gets a little dark.
Like they are bartering chips
Yeah.
because they can be sacrificed easily for spells. But she also loves them because she trains them and they become like a thing and they're able to like help them out and like complete tasks and keep watch. Like does Elle get the mouse in this book or does she get the mouse in the next book?
Well, I haven't read the next book.
Right, so do you know about the mouse?
I know they came in very late-ish, if I recall correctly, but I don't really know. I kind of tapped out at some point.
Well, I think you see the mice in this, but it becomes like her guard animal.
Oh, okay.
So while she's asleep, it's like watching out for her. While she's like tinkering with things, it's watching out for her.
Okay.
So her mouse ends up being really important. Instead of killing it, it ends up being her ally in a place where she doesn't have any allies.
So that we kind of both addressed this, maybe, or at least I'll throw my 2 cents in that. I like how dark it is. I kind of am cool with like, it's kind of
Dark
bleak.
academia.
It's dark academia, as I heard, is the genre, and so it really fits. But I like how there's stakes. Like there's like people can go at any time, and I think that it keeps you interested.
Well, and not even that, just that you can go because the school kills you. Like your classmates will sacrifice you.
There's
not everybody is cool with killing mouse. Sometimes they need a little more.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of betrayal and like alliances and shit like that.
Because the boy gets eaten.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole Orion Lake, the savior.
We'll get into that.
Yeah,
dude.
we'll get to Orion because I have notes on him as well.
So I think that took up 3 of my things, dude. I basically said the idea was sort of cool. Mm-hmm. I like the way the magic's done, and I sort of dig how dark it is because there is I get it. It's dark, but then it kind of gets to a point where it's like, and like you said earlier, no one likes this main character, and so like everything.
That's the next thing I want to get to.
Yeah, I was about to say because like everything sucks. Like no one likes her. People are dying. It's just like a really
everything
kind of
sucks. You run into this book and it's like, oh yeah. So Galadriel, what did I write about her? Hold on.
Oh, do you have like a whole ass section?
No. Okay. So my notes were, and this was a con for me, how unlikable the main character is. But again, this goes back to, I think she's unlikable because you don't have the information you get in the second book. And I don't know if that was an intentional thing on the author's part to make you like really dislike her and then grow to love her, if it was supposed to be that kind of thing. But I feel like that's a poor choice on some levels as well. But essentially, Galadriel is disliked by everyone because of the type of magic she does. And I don't feel like that's clearly, and like I don't feel like that's made clear in this book.
Yeah.
So she is and I wrote it down. She's a maleficer.
Yeah.
Okay. So she creates destruction and chaos. That is her type of magic. So there's a point where she creates a volcano. She is able to kill a Mormouth, which is those giant like creatures that eat people.
Bro,
Yes.
just real quick about the monsters, because I really don't have a lot to say about them, but they're when you name those monsters, I have nothing that comes up in my head.
Okay, so Mormouth is patience and fortitude, which is what they're trying to escape at the end, like what the seniors have to get past. There's a third one, she kills it. So like
but what do they look like? Like
they are a human blob of faces and body parts.
Oh, really?
Like, think like a sludge that started eating people and just kept eating people and kept eating people. So its face is literally them screaming. Like its face is all it's just a glob
okay.
of human bits. And they have arms that reach out and try to like grab people and pull them in, and like
Wow.
they are disgusting. Like they are just this like human amalgamation of gore, which is what I thought was so cool about them.
Is that all of them?
No, that's just the whatever
some of
more
the
mouths. There we go.
mouths? Okay.
So that's why they're called more mouths. They have multiple mouths. Like, how clever! But anyway, that's just one of them. They have all kinds of different. Some of them are like cute. Some of them are like really small. Some of them are insectoid. The thing that's in the pillows is like sludge. That like. Yeah, they're all different. They all do different things. But the Mormouth is not killable. That's the way it's seen. In the beginning of the book, we find out that Galadriel's mother is pregnant with her when she leaves as a senior. So she gets pregnant in the Scholomance, which does tell you that, like, pregnancies happen because there are no adults. There's no rules. So, like, if you know you're going to die, why not fuck? Kind of concept. And children do come from that relationship.
But they don't really talk about. Like,
they don't ever talk about that in detail.
They start brushing up to it like near the end, but I mean throughout the whole story, there's this like romance and this whole thing about her dating.
Yeah, so
Orion.
I have that in here. It's so part of this story is considered a romance, which I hate. So it's under the cons immediately because I don't like a romance in most things. And it's considered a enemies to lover romance.
I hate that shit.
Oh, agreed. 100%. But there is no chemistry. There is no sexual tension. There is no anything other than she's like, get fucked, Orion.
Just because
he keeps saving her life. And she's like, I fucking hate this dude. I'm like, do you want to die? Is this like suicidal ideation? Like, I mean, there's no one to talk to here, so maybe it is. But she's like, I fucking hate this dude. And he's out there killing monsters and saving people. And she's like, get fucked. Get away from me.
And literally on the back of the fucking book is like, or the first line in the book itself, I think is, I decided that Orion Lake needed to die after the second time he saved me. So that's pretty much like their...
So that's her intention then. Her intention was for this to happen.
Yeah.
So Orion ends up being really, really important, and I guess this is like a spoiler thing, so I don't know. I assume you are not going to read any more of these.
I even wrote down, not sure yet if I'll read more.
Okay, so then I won't tell you. But there is a reason... I want you to know, though. That's the problem with this. Because I want to like hear your points, but I think we should talk about this. And then...
maybe towards the end, and
yes.
we'll get people listening in case they want to check this out for themselves.
So, unlikable character. I thought this was an info dump. These are my cons. So, unlikable character. I thought it was an info dump. Instead of like sprinkling lore in or weaving it in naturally, there were like whole massive portions of chapters that were just. This is what happens in this world, and like, here's my internal monologue on it. And it's very, because she's isolated, it's a lot of just in her head.
So she breaks the fourth wall a lot?
Yeah.
Because she'll be like, if you can't, like, picture this, imagine.
Yeah.
And she, like, literally goes into even more detail of...
That's my, like, it's like too much detail.
So I have to tell you what this is, because I made this shit up.
But you're not
like, that's
letting,
the author I'm saying.
Right,
Yeah.
but you're not letting the reader imagine it. Or make their own inferences or conclusions.
Yeah.
Instead, you're like, this is how it is. Which makes me think of, like, the DM that's not flexible in a campaign. They're like, no, you can't go in that door. And I'm like, but I want to go in the door. No, you can't go in the door. Why? Because I said so. So the story continues. And, like, it feels like that.
Dude, yeah. I think, like, I gotta check my negatives because I know you just talked about some of the things that I really couldn't stand, dude, to be honest. When you're talking about, like, the info dump, I literally had it at the very end. It says, too much explaining.
Oh yeah, like
Just-
you're not stupid. She assumes
She
the reader is
explains
stupid.
everything has to, and I'm thinking like, yeah, this is a unique concept. Like it's a little different and it's fun, but like really, it's not that complicated. Like there
But there are better ways. She could have told you all that in a
yeah.
better way.
She kind of, it's like when someone gets really excited about an idea, and then they kind of like they've already thought it all out right here in their head,
Yep.
and they don't really know. They kind of like how to explain it to a person. They kind of just want to get to the good parts, and
So they're like rushing through all this information.
yeah, they're just like yeah. Or making it up as they go, kind of like I felt like when
Exactly.
she says like, "Oh, if you don't really get this, let me explain some more," and then it's like,
And see, you shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
If you're
Or there's,
effectively conveying your story. Because I feel like those chunks, I almost wonder if whoever, like, whatever author or editor, whatever editor or friend or whoever read it was like, ooh, I don't really understand this. Could you, like, explain this more? So instead she put it in there as, like, multiple pages of information.
yeah.
Instead of just weaving it in organically.
Yeah, and there's like cool, creative, fun ways to really describe something without saying exactly.
Oh, as much as I dislike J.K. Rowling, I think she does a very good job at explaining a world and lore as you go. And I think Tolkien does that as well. And I think George R.R. Martin kind of, I don't know, he talks
I haven't
a
really
lot.
read-
These
I haven't
books.
read
It's-
Game
it's
of
too much.
Thrones.
It's too much talking. Which at this book is almost too much internal talking.
Yeah, she's all
Like
up in your head.
right, but I'm all up in my head, so I don't need to be in your head like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Especially when
not-
she's not that likable, dude.
She's not. She's just super not a likable character.
It's one thing for-
and the interesting part is in a standard book. Okay,
Yeah.
in a standard, I guess it's fantasy. Would you consider?
Yeah, it is fantasy.
So, in a standard fantasy novel, our hero or our main character is essentially Orion Lake.
yeah, but he's just so dull that like,
Well, and he gets more interesting, but maybe he's
Does
not,
he?
and he's kind of dull for a reason because he's like that.
but that's it. Like that's
but-
like me saying Luke Skywalker gets more interesting, and then we just watched like the first Star Wars, like New Hope.
But that's my point: is you shouldn't have to.
I know, and that's why I'm saying like dude, like one of my things is like there wasn't enough in this first book.
To make you want to read the second book.
Like, and you told me that near the end there's something that they kind of leave you with, and it makes you're like, oh, I really want to know how that plays out. And if it's what I think it is, I was like, okay, I'll just Google it, I guess, or I'll just ask Bailey. I don't know, like. I don't know if I really
But
want
see,
to
I
read a
didn't
whole
get
ass
to
book.
Google or ask someone. I read it
But you
as it
naturally
came out.
wanted to find that out, though.
But see, that goes back to, I think this is a really cool concept. I think this is a really cool world. I think the reason they send their children here is fascinating. I'll get to that in a second. But I just don't think it was well written in the first book. So I almost read the second book in hopes that I would get my questions answered. And I did. But I think that's a negative on this book. I don't think I should have had to read a second book to get my questions answered. But I'm so
But that's kind of like.
focused that I needed to know.
But you know what that is, too? That's just a strategy that we see in a lot of other mediums. Netflix usually ends with a cliffhanger with new shows so that they can get people to go, well, I want a second season. Like.
But I feel like it should be good, and that's why you
It
want a
should stand
second,
on its own.
right? And I don't think this did.
Like Harry Potter.
I think there was critical things that weren't answered in this book.
So, okay. Like, obviously, and I even wrote this tonight, like, you want to compare this shit to Harry Potter.
Well, yeah, it's a magic school. Naturally, the comparison's gonna.
But let's think about Sorcerer's Stone. Okay, like, we are introduced to this world through Harry for the first time, and
Which
there's
is the same. We're introduced to this world through Galadriel,
But it's
this
like
is
she's-
not the first
Yeah.
time. We're halfway through her education.
which, at first it was a little... It kind of put me off because I was like, oh, man, like, you're just picking up randomly. But, okay, maybe I'm here for it. You know, it was a little chaotic.
You find out a lot about her first years in the later books.
Oh, she does a lot of, like...
Yeah, there's a lot of
flashbacks.
flashbacks.
Okay.
There's a lot of like Because you find out a lot about her life outside of this place, too.
Okay. But see, like, that's it. That's why I feel like she has so much to explain. Like, you
Right.
gotta catch us up to, like, yeah, this world, let me tell you about everything now.
But she gave us the wrong details.
Oh, dude, it's like...
That's what it
and
was.
we're not even
It-
at the beginning of her year, it seems, right? It's like...
A lot of this book felt like it should be prologue, not story.
Yeah.
And I think if she had wrote it prologue, not story, then you could have taken a lot of the second book and put it in the first book. But maybe that was her finding her world, and I mean, you know, I don't
get
know.
it. I
I'm
don't
not.
know. I don't know either. But, like, that's...
But I think it's a very derisive book. You either really disliked this book, or you were like, "Yeah, no, I'm here for it."
Yeah, and I have those Audible reviews that I want to read.
I was gonna say,
After
I'm
we get through our
interested-
points,
I'm
yeah.
interested to. I only have one more point.
Well, so I'll just kind of quickly go through the things I like because really, I think I had stronger opinions that were negative. Mm-hmm. And just to be honest, because you suggested this book and I wanted to be fair, but I also
But even my negatives are stronger.
Okay. So I'm going to quickly just go through mine. So I said names are cool, and I think the only one that stood out is I like the name Orion. I think that's cool.
Yeah, like the constellation.
Yeah. There you go. Names
Yeah.
are cool. I like cool names.
Well, I liked Galadriel as well.
Yeah. See, I like that too.
Wait,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
elves, like who wouldn't like her?
I said world building is okay with the all caps okay, and
Mid at best, is that what you're saying?
because like it kind of teeters off the point of me saying the idea is cool. So yeah, in this world, I can see like someone getting this concept and doing a lot better with it, but it's also like knowing the difference between, like you're saying, info dumping and world building, because they're not.
Because it's not the same thing.
not.
And looking back, like in the second read, it is not the same
It's
thing.
not the same,
No.
especially once you know all that information.
Right.
Like, gosh, I know,
Yes.
I get it.
So I think that's the problem is
Yeah.
now that I have the full information and went back and reread this first book, I'm like,
A little
well, it's
annoyed.
not good. This is not good writing. Like,
So I would say like the pacing is all right because there's most of the time
so that's, I think, part of that. Like the pacing isn't good.
I thought it was all right because there's at least something going on. Like, well, like there's a fair share of
But
action.
you even admitted you tune out certain things.
Yeah, because there's shit I don't
isn't
care
good.
about. Like
Oh,
there's
that's true.
there's like I mean there was a lot of points where I'm just listening to this book and I'm going, why is this even a thing? Like, why is this school? Why is this like? I thought by the end I'd get more answers, and I really don't think unless I missed something. I don't think you really understand why their world is set up like this. Now we've had some conversations, and you've kind of led me like, and you've given me some things.
Which is,
but-
I was gonna say, is this a spoiler situation?
I mean,
or
well, no.
because it
contained to this book, they don't really tell you.
No.
Okay,
Not at all.
Yeah, and I feel
No.
like that's not cool.
I agree because why would you care about these people? They have no point.
Yeah, like other
Yeah.
than them just surviving.
Because it almost seems like people are just sending their kids off to die, or like
Okay.
having a wizard child
Yeah,
is a negative
exactly.
thing because your child is gonna die.
I will say this is a good thing, and also this could be a bad thing. Oh, it is. We both listened to this audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
The narration for the main character, I think she did, was spot on. Maybe
The narrator sucks for literally
Everything else
Every
sucks,
other
dude.
character is terrible.
It
The
was
voice
terrible.
for Orion is terrible. It's
Oh,
just bad.
that was my. maybe
I
that's-
almost can't discern her for the other female characters. I can't. I
Oh, she
almost
didn't
can't.
try, dude.
Yeah, I almost can't tell. So the narrator is a big negative. It's on here.
Yeah, I mean,
Narrator
but when
was
she
negative.
does
That's my
Elle's
last
voice, and
She nails it.
I'm like,
It's
yo, you are
This
Elle.
is exactly what Elle should sound
Yeah.
like. Everything else sucks.
Yeah, Orion's was terrible, dude.
It's like when people do the bad female voice,
yeah,
like the really
when
high
guys do
pitched.
bad.
Yep.
Yeah. It was
The good old Jim Dale with those high pitched Cockney voices is what it made me think of.
So, like I said, main character when she's talking and reading that part, it's cool, I guess. But like your character is also unlikable, so you're annoying me, kind of. And I just got a couple more good things here. talking about the book was fun. Mm-hmm. And I should have saved this for last, but I really like throughout this experience of reading or listening, whatever, asking you questions and stuff was
Which
fun.
is why I chose this book, for the record.
Okay.
Because that's what I enjoy in like asking people to read this. Is
Yeah.
I like the dialogue that comes out of it.
And that's why I was excited when we talked about
Yeah.
Eisenhorn and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool about this little book club we've made for, and maybe if we want to, we can start planning some stuff out and
Yeah,
letting people know
absolutely.
before we record what we're reading, so people, if they want to
Read so they
Tune
can have
in.
opinions.
Hell
Maybe
yeah.
they'll read afterwards and think we're totally full of shit.
absolutely, we would love to hear it.
Exactly.
So let's see. Talking about the book was fun. We already kind of talked about this, but I guess I wrote, didn't mind starting out in the chaos, starting out in third year instead of the start like Harry Potter. Like, it was different, and I was willing to.
But you kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah, and it doesn't end somewhere satisfying, so it doesn't warrant the fact that you started in the middle of everything. Like, I wish you would have kind of like walked me through it, and then Harry Potter Hunger Games. That was something that came
So
out.
the only thing I have a note on that we didn't talk about
Yeah.
before we like
Sure.
do all whatever.
Oh, whatever.
Do all whatever we're
I'm
gonna
gonna
do.
drink some water while you say.
Go ahead. Enclaves is very important, and I do not, in listening to this book again, think enclaves was important.
No, they're really referenced to me as a first time reader as just like cliques. Like,
Yes.
Yo, you're from New
So-
York. You're in the New York enclave. Come over and sit here at lunch, and we
Yes.
we look out for each other over here. They're like gangs.
So
man.
in reading it the first time,
yeah,
I viewed it that way too. Like,
Yeah.
it was like cliques. Like, these are the people that are from the city you're from. But it's not the people that are in the city you're from. It's the wealthy people and the popular people in the city you're from. So this is like the cool kids.
and it's also like around the world.
Yes, because there's Dubai. And that was one note I had in here is I really love that, as opposed to Harry Potter, that's all like the UK essentially, this is global. And you have to know other languages. Like, she gets multiple spells in Arabic and Mandarin and things like that. So it's talking about you have to trade knowledge in that way. Like, she has other people translate her spells for her.
Yeah, that was
At
cool.
one point. And that's even like a tactic where you could translate it wrong, so it goes wrong, and then it hurts her, and then something happens. There's just a lot of levels to that, and I think the fact that there's a language barrier actually makes it more interesting.
Yeah,
Because it adds a level of like mistrust and trust and reliance and trade route and thing like that, which is really, really cool to me. But the enclaves seem like the cool kids of that area in this book, and the enclaves are not at all that.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of those things that, like, I truly can't, in rereading it, tell if she didn't know where she was going with that, or if that was always the point and she was so stuck in trying to, like, tell you about the lore that she didn't make it so important.
So, My Hero Academia, right? They have agencies, hero agencies. Are enclaves like wizard agencies? Like, are they like do they have a goal?
Yes,
like
because they're scouting powers. Like, they're scouting people with certain magical abilities or affinities and things like that.
okay, so they have a responsibility in society.
Correct. So they talk about power sharers in the book, the like
Yeah.
watches on their wrist.
Yeah.
So everything costs mana. Well, the enclave share mana. So if you have people out there who are like good with certain things like artificing, then they go and build a building. Well, in building that building, they've built a massive amount of mana because it's in their magical like realm of ability. So essentially, you're picking a group of people that will build the most amount of mana for your community, because that means you're more likely to survive and you're more comfortable.
Gotcha.
But that's not at all the vibe that you get in this book. And I think that's a failure.
And so through the lens of a YA novel, you get this like high school clique vibe, but it's really the haves and the have-nots. Like you said,
Right.
the rich, the privileged.
Which
versus,
I guess is where it comes into. It was supposed to be an adult. Like this series is considered
But
an
that's
adult
also,
series.
to me, like what's supposed to make me like the main character is that you
She's
almost
the poor underdog.
Yeah, but she.
I mean, she lives in a yurt in the middle of the nothingness with her mom, who does free healing rituals.
Yeah, like this hippie enclave, or not enclave.
They
but,
live on like bamboo mats.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
But see, that's the thing. Like at first, I thought that she was unlikable because she's trying to survive, and you can't trust people. But then as I started noticing that there are people that connect. I mean, like you said, her mom and dad must have got together at the school.
Yeah.
So there's relationships.
Yep.
Like you are allowed to like form bonds. But it seemed like since day one, she was like, I do not fuck with people. People do not fuck with me. And that's just how it is. That's how it's always been. That's how it always will be.
But that all comes down to her magic type. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's well explained
But they don't
in this.
know. Yeah, I was about to say.
Oh, they know.
So
I don't remember how they know, but they know what your magic types are.
But remember Orion?
I think it's based on the spells you get or something like
Okay.
that.
Well, but didn't Orion, like, the reason why they even connected, he was, like, following her to see if she was some type of...
Oh, he thought she was killing people.
Right.
He's following her because there's a student that goes missing.
Uh-huh.
That's how like their connection starts. Is this student goes missing and nobody knows what happens to the student. So he's following her around because he thinks she's either killing them or sacrificing them to the monsters.
Wow.
So he's like, all right, I'm gonna kill this bitch. And he's like, but before I kill her, I need to be like sure she's doing what I think she's doing. And he's like, if not, monsters are always around her, so it's like freebie killing monsters.
And we should talk about that like, the school needs it's almost like it needs a certain amount of mana sacrifice to it. And so there's, like, a quota that it's trying to make, I guess. And if you don't, like...
Question mark happens.
Yeah, and... So, like, Orion, like you stated earlier, if people caught, like, because there are
Because it
some
saves people.
there are some cool story beats that we probably like. Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Is it was the side stories that I was more interested in. I find the main characters so unlikable that I was interested in the people that were in the background and what they were doing.
Bro, I hate to burst that bubble. I literally put lack of supporting characters.
Oh, they're not there. There are no supporting characters.
But-
These are just random one-offs, like the kid that she saves in the library. I would love to see how that plays out for
Yeah,
that kid.
yeah.
Or, she's sitting in that classroom and they all almost get eaten and she saves everybody. Like, what if she hadn't? These are the things that intrigued me.
Yeah, like I said, I feel a little bit stronger about certain negatives than positives, but I am like I was all in on certain things. Like I was really curious. Like I think that's what really kept me. Is like
I think if you took this world, the lore, and the setup,
yeah,
and you plucked it out and gave it to a better writer, you'd love
it'd
it.
be better.
You would love it.
Okay, well,
You would love it. And I think that's the problem is I see the potential in the story, not the second read through I was like
that first book's a woozy. I'm sure some people look back at because let's be honest, look back at Sorcerer's Stone. Like we know how that story plays out in the long run.
oh yeah, and I'm a massive Harry Potter nerd, but I see so many writing flaws and so many story holes in the longevity of Harry Potter.
Yeah, but even then, like the things that they set up, I felt like had good payoff. Like the whole thing about Harry is like, well, why did he live? Like, what makes him so special?
Yeah, I think.
Like, I feel more, curious about like that than.
But see, you find out, like, that's, again, this goes to the second book. She's way more... I almost feel like if you read the second book, the first book's better. And that should never
Really?
be the case.
Oh, yeah, man. I
That's
don't know.
poor writing. But in reading it...
Because
Because essentially, and I'm going to tell you things without telling you things. That's how I'm going to do this.
okay, all right.
Essentially, Orion is being used by his enclave.
You can catch that.
Yeah, that's a
They're
clear
dicks.
right.
And she sees that, and she becomes really protective
of that.
him.
But she realizes essentially they're siphoning off mana.
Oh, because he can
he just pumps it
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
man. This dude can just go with some mana.
That's crazy.
He
too.
makes it. But it's almost because he's addicted to killing monsters. Like it's not out of a heroic thing.
No, and he
never says that he's a hero.
She has this image of him being like, hey, you know, building a statue of you, like, why, you know, doing all
right,
these
but
heroic
he never
things.
says that. And the more you read, the more you realize that it's not out of good. It's not
It's
a good
a
thing.
sadder,
Yeah, like it's like a deep, like obsessive compulsion. It has no like heroic meaning to it. Which almost makes him more interesting.
But you know what sucks about that, and especially when it comes to Orion, and there is action in the story, and there's a good bit because there's no shit going on. I mean, this is a story about monsters that kill wizards in a confined space. Like,
Yes.
there's going to be action, but I also don't remember a lot. Like, none of the action scenes really stood out. Like,
oh, and again, like
maybe like that one time when she got stabbed and she was laying in bed and Orion like stayed in her room that whole night
and was
fought
like just killing all those like thing after because they smell blood, so they're just like, oh, we're gonna eat her. She's wounded.
She's weak, vulnerable.
Yep, and they just keep coming like through the night.
Yeah.
They are consistently gonna eat her.
And there is a cool thing about the school with like the idea of intention. And that, like, it almost can, read or sense what you're doing or feeling or thinking.
Part of it is, in this world, like, you do have spells and things like that, but they're not, like, everybody casts Leviosa. Like, it is a very specific spell that has very specific costs, but the most important thing is your intention in your spells. So people who have powers like Maleficer, which is what the main character has, can cause chaos, damage, harm, etc. to other people just by thinking it too hard.
That's wild.
So a lot of people hate her because she can think you to death if she wants to.
Yeah, she has those thoughts frequently.
Oh yeah,
she's like, I could kill all of you guys.
She
right now.
swallows it down like a champ.
There are moments.
There are moments where she's like, I could murder everyone in this room and just go on about my day.
Look, to be fair, she does have some moments where I'm like, I'm glad you have that attitude. I'm glad you're not a pushover. But then I also would like you to, you know, calm down a little bit. Because she's a little too snappy at people. Like, her level of trust is like...
non-existent.
She's in debt.
But essentially, if you have been almost murdered by adults your whole life, it would probably make you a little snappy.
I know, dude. I know. But, like, I think a lot of the time, those characters are, like, the quiet types. And the fact that she has, like, she's got a bratty... You know,
she does
she's
have
got
a
that kind of
bratty
like, you know,
yeah.
she's roasting Orion.
Oh,
the whole blood. She just
see. That's where it's like this.
I felt bad
this
for him.
Romance, friends to enemies, or enemies to friends, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't feel that from them. Like, I have read a lot of books where there's a good hate fuck in it, and this does not vibe like that.
No.
Like, it doesn't, she has no interest in him in that way. Does she get the letter from her mom in this one?
Yeah, the very end, right?
Yeah. Like, I think that's why she's like, I want to sleep with this guy. Because they're like, no.
Oh, they're like opposites.
Yeah.
And they attract.
Now that she's not supposed to be around him, she's like, yeah, right. No, it's my least favorite trope in an already unnecessary type of story.
I also wrote so many questions, not enough answers. Main character. These are the things I don't like. I'm just going to run through this real quick. This book's purpose, like besides the world building, I'm just reading what it wrote.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. Like besides the world building, I guess it's just about surviving.
It's a survival horror.
Yeah, but like Harry Potter, there's like a villain. There's like the school's the villain, but then you don't know why it's the villain.
Society is the villain.
See, I don't. Lack of supporting characters. Action can be dull. The monsters.
I don't think there's a lack of supporting characters. I think you.
Name a
I
supporting
think
character
you
besides
zoned out.
Orion.
I think you zoned out. Her
Yeah, because they're
two
just
best female
it's like,
friends.
who am I going to sit with at lunch?
Yeah, and there's two girls that like really help her out.
At the very end.
But they are critical.
Like-
Again, it's like the story
Like she
drags
has-
and drags and drags, and then she's like, all right, here's everything important, and it's over.
And I'm friends
It's
with people
done.
now.
It's done.
I'm character developed.
done.
Her character development.
Friends does not mean character development. It just means you got characters
Dude,
around you.
this chick did not talk to anyone. If she has one friend by the end of this book, she spent 90% of it saying "fuck all" and "get away from me." Like I don't,
I mean,
but she
to be
did
fair,
get
she
stabbed.
cannot even shower, and she did get stabbed.
I know she did get stabbed. Not enough reasons in book 1 to encourage me to read on to book 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. The starting point, too much explaining, and that's pretty much all I wrote down. I mean, and we've talked about a good chunk.
I think we've covered everything.
Do you want me to go over these Audible reviews?
I just want to
'Cause
see
we're
what they
not
are.
really-
I haven't read any of them.
Okay, yeah, this is going
So
to be
I'm
your first
interested
time.
to see.
Well,
Because those reviews were savage.
They were pretty
The
savage.
ones I watched were just savage.
Yeah, they were. So we'll do that,
Which
and
were
we'll-
fair. They were fair critiques. But
Yeah, but like we honestly been trying to avoid influence of like,
which is why I wrote my notes first and then watched my reviews second.
Well, I will pull these up right now. You want to hear good or bad?
Give me a good, since
Okay.
we went hard on some. We held it accountable for some things.
Okay, this one is a 4-star. The title is "Love the Book." Audible version is meh. By Ari 2 years ago.
I mean, that's fair.
I think some of my biggest critiques have to be with the voice actors. Some really make or break the mood when it
Voice
comes to
actor.
I know.
There's
there's
only one.
person,
It's
and
one.
she,
It's
like,
the same voice for pretty much everyone until it's Orion, and then it's flat.
some really make or break the mood when it comes to storytelling. I'm not even finished listening, but easily annoyed half the time.
Yes.
Listening and doing other things, I get lost, which was me.
Yeah, that was you.
Unsure what the actress is going on about, whether it's a thought or actual dialogue. Like, because you said she's in her
Yep.
head so much that
You don't know where you're discerning through conversation and what is internal monologue. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
Yes.
all right. So, so far so good. It leaves you lost a few sentences in where I had to rewind and see if it was a vocal or the character's thoughts. Her
See? Because
yeah.
she doesn't transition well.
Yeah. Her voice is pleasing, but the distinction of characters throughout is lacking.
Because it's all the same character.
Let's see. And it's not that she is British, but she has that snippy Hermione twist on her words that make me constantly think of Harry Potter and Emma's portrayal of her character when she gets that clipped attitude. Mm-hmm. And then that's it. Performance out of 5, they gave it a 2. But they gave 5 to the story.
I would say it's a 5 to the story.
Yeah.
I gave, on my Audible review, I gave a 5 to the story and a 1 to the
Ooh.
performance.
Okay. So here's a 1 star.
Okay, hit me with it.
All world building, no plot. By
Fair.
by David Bailey.
Fair.
It's like Harry Potter if the entire series was just Hermione explaining how the wizarding world works.
That might be the most accurate review that you've read me today.
Its rules, its history, its quirks,
Mm-hmm.
its I don't know, without anything driving the story forward at all. Just a series of descriptions with some monsters popping out every now and then. And instead of Hermione being charming, intelligent, and capable, she's cynical and closed off. 5 hours into this book, and I had no idea what it was about, only where it was set. I really had high hopes for it, but shoosh. 3 to performance, 1 to story. I mean, valid, not valid. You agree, disagree?
Yeah. In rereading it, I would give performance a 1, story a 3.
Oh, wow. And look, you like Harry Potter. I like Harry Potter.
And I like this
Granger.
book.
Do you think this main character was like Hermione Granger any?
No, because I don't think she's as intelligent, and I don't think she's nearly as kind.
Okay.
But I do think she's got way more street smarts than Hermione will ever have.
Ready for a really good one? Mm-hmm. Perfect score, dude. 5 stars. Another home run from Naomi Novik, the author. Mm-hmm. This is from Mary 2 years ago. I found Naomi Novik through her marvelous Temeraire series and was pleased to find she had tried her hand at the well-trodden magic school genre. The magic... Are there a lot of the magic school?
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to find their new Harry Potter? Would Percy Jackson be...
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then there's like Charlie Bones and something.
there's
and then Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Let's see. Where did but she does something new and fresh with it, and every minute is enjoyable, Bailey.
Whoa.
Every single moment in this. Mary loved this book.
Does it say psych at the end?
It says Novik builds an intriguing world. I agree.
That's fair.
I'm so glad this is a series because I want to know all about it.
I also wanted to know more about it. I felt there were a lot of holes.
And I have so many unanswered questions.
Yep.
And our character is smart, cynical, and wrong in all the right ways from moment one.
Is there a wrong in the right ways?
How can you be wrong in all the right ways? Shoosh. Going with Elle as she puzzled through problems, yells at everyone, and tries to survive school is a great ride.
Man, if you're into like bratty people, if that's your kink, this is your book.
This is your book.
This is your... I didn't even think about that, but if you like people being mean to you, God, she is your character.
Great, man.
She is everything you want.
And I think Orion, actually, my first reaction and thought was, everyone is, getting this dude off, dude. They are like complimenting him. They're like, "Yo, can I hang out? Orion, you're so cool." Because he's saved so many people's lives that he's just surrounded by people that compliment him,
that are using him.
And she's like one of the only people that he saved like a shit ton of times who's like, "Dude, fuck you."
But she's consistently, fuck you.
Yeah, all the time.
There's never a let up.
The narrator's reading brings her to life. Whoa. I can't wait for book 2. Till then, I'm listening to this all over again. 5 and 5.
I wouldn't, because the second read you feel different.
5 stars, not your average YA. I only have a few more.
See, YA, again, but it's not a YA. Now that I know it's not a YA, I view it different.
But it's
an adult novel warrants a harder lens, which is why I think I view the writing differently
now? Mm-hmm. Well, Heather 2 years ago said this series is YA in the same way The Hunger Games is YA. Mm-hmm. Teenage protagonist, but deadly stakes. Yes, there's a focus on cliques and interpersonal drama, but in this world, being a part of a strong clique means you have a better chance of not getting eaten by monsters, which is true. It is a strategy.
Yes,
it's not your typical drama.
Well, and at one point, someone is trying to... The valedictorian is trying to join an enclave because she wants her brother and sister to be safe.
Yeah.
Because they come up behind her. So if she's valedictorian and she gets this one kid out, she gets to be in an enclave and her brother and sister are set when they come through. So that's her guaranteeing their safety. And that's definitely an interesting thought. Is you're not even buying for your own safety, you're buying for other people's safety later on down the road.
And Heather kind of touches on that. She goes, here's the thing that will make or break for a lot of readers. One of the themes of this series is privilege. The school is basically a war zone, and all the kids are trying to survive, but the kids with resources and connections have a much better chance at survival. The story is told from the perspective of a have-not who openly resents the haves. Mm-hmm. Some reviewers seem to interpret this as making the main character whiny, but I think this story will resonate with a lot of people.
I don't think she's whiny. I just think she's unlikable.
She complains a lot.
but she's brash. Like, none of her complaints aren't valid. They are always a valid observation about the system or the school or some variation of such. They are fair complaints, but they are complaints.
Right. Let's see. I got one more. That's it. And I guess I didn't take a full screenshot of this, but I'll try to pick up where let's see. But the kids do an impossible thing that the adults failed at multiple times. Oh, okay, because I just wanted to get this one part. Speaking of adults, why exactly does the school not actually have any? I get that this school improves the likelihood of the children surviving to adulthood, despite how dangerous the school itself is, and that the school itself is capable of teaching the student on its own. But why not send a group of experienced adults into the school? Like, this person was like, yo, I really just anybody want to tell me? Group of experienced adults into the school with the students to act as like literal guardians. Not to mention, maybe don't restrict what the student can bring into the school. Seems like you would have far less people resorting to dark magic to survive that way. Speaking of, how does anyone come out of the school as any kind of functional adult? I feel like anyone who got out of this would be a psychopath with extreme levels of PTSD.
They are.
Also,
which is why there's no adults in this building.
Yeah.
That is actually touched on later on.
Also, all the monsters in the school and the outside world seem to have been made by the wizards themselves. Maybe someone should, I don't know, make a law or something. Let's see. Despite my bashing, I would like to mention again that I did like the book.
See?
And will likely get the next book when it comes out, even with all of its flaws, so take that as you will.
Exactly. And that's my point. Is this book had a lot of flaws. It's a good book.
Okay.
Willing to argue for that.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad book, but I just don't know if it was...
I think that reviewer hit on everything that they need to. Yeah. That last bit is critical.
I literally think I wrote down that, like, I don't think this is a bad book, but I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't resonate with, like, some of the things here. Like, I really was looking for things, and that's why I think the premise is cool. I'd be down to talk after this.
There's a bunch of stuff I'm going to tell you off of this. Yeah.
So I will definitely pick your brain about that. But and just in case anybody wanted to, read this after they heard this, whatever, man. Just kind of save those spoilers for them to discover on their own.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, that's really all I had. You good?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts? Anything else?
Make your friends read it. It's a great conversation.
Make your friends read it?
Make your friends read it.
Wow, okay.
It's a great conversation.
It can be. And I think, I wonder if after hearing your thoughts on the book 2 and 3, if I'd still want to just kind of check it out. It's not that long of it. Is book 2 and 3 bigger than this?
No, I'm pretty sure they're the same length.
Okay, so this is like, okay. All right, cool. Well, hope everyone had fun listening.
Yeah.
If you guys have any suggestions for any books that you guys would like to...
I love book suggestions. They're my favorite.
Yes. Obviously, you suggested this to me. It was suggested to you. Mm-hmm. This part of it. It's part of the fun. So, I had fun talking about it. I didn't hate it. So, but
it was a mid book.
It was no. Like I feel like we're just talking about it. Like we're not even reviewing it. Like hey.
But it gets so much better. Like the world gets so much better. That's the unfortunate part.
Yeah. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Guess we will.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Wonder Soul. Connect with Wonder Soul by following the podcast on social media. If you would like to support Wonder Soul, please rate, review, and share the podcast and this episode. Until the next time we meet.